Tommy Curran, how are we doing this week?
I'm on top of the world.
Well, you got a long weekend, right? You got a long weekend. You got an unexpected long weekend because the Patriots got caught with another violation. So that's good news for you.
Are you the one who dropped the dime, Tommy?
Yeah, there was an NFL guy in the building who saw it. I don't think there was any dime dropping, despite the fact I can sense that there's a great, great urgency for that to be seen as the case. And, somebody snitched. From everything I understand so far, there was an NFL official in the building, and they kind of were caught red-handed having these meetings. So,
3 days in a row, or 3 different times they got caught, or they got caught the one and then it backtracked to the other dates that Mike Reese and Greg Bedard have reported on. What were the dates?
I don't think that they got caught
fourth, whatever it was.
I don't think they got caught red-handed 3 days in a row, but I do know with the practices themselves, they're supposed to videotape and share everything. So the Patriots were compliant with everything. So my guess is you get caught red-handed once, and then they look back.
Turn over the tapes.
You did this 2 other times. I don't even know if there were tapes to turn over because they were only meetings. They weren't even on the field.
The most boring tapes in the world.
Yeah, this scandal sucks, Tommy.
Yeah, here comes another guy. They're in there. He's talking to him.
Tom, I know this is still a kind of a developing situation. Any idea how ownership feels about this little penalty here?
Well, I think the Patriots are at a juncture where, from talking to people, look, no news is bad news. As far as they're concerned, they want to stay in people's consciousness, and they're doing a very good job of it. I think in this offseason, we talk about them incessantly, but this is not in the best light. I don't think that ownership would weigh in necessarily on if it was a training camp practice that they got dinged for and it harmed attendance on the fields amongst the fan base, they would be agitated. I think that if I was in charge of the team or owned the business, I would go to the manager and say, is that guy really helping us a lot? And point at Joe Judge. And I would ask Bill Belichick, the manager, is he helping us or hurting us? Because every time I turn around, I feel like he's at the epicenter of an issue that is causing the team either to have a level of dysfunction, distrust, or lose practices when it's important to have practices. So how much is he helping us?
With that in mind, Tommy, before all this broke, how much importance did you personally sort of put on these particular OTAs with this particular team and sort of everything that's gone on in the offseason?
I vacillate, between vital and once you get the work done, it doesn't matter anymore. So these early ones are pretty vital. You have, these were the first 3 outdoor practices, which would have been encompassing 11-on-11, 9-on-7, and 7-on-7. It's the first time you can go on the field. It's the first time you can be out there with coaches. It's the first time you can run live, but no contact. It's important to see guys are in the right places, that they understand the tempo that they need. Once you do that, of these 10 practices, maybe toward the end they're not as important, but, to have 2 and then have to cancel and then not be back at it again until next week, I think is you run the risk of having several days off, and okay, we got to start again. We were gone for 5 days. Everyone had a great Memorial Day. Let's start it all over again. They're very important until they are rendered unimportant by how well the team assimilates.
Talking to Tommy Curran, NBC Sports Boston. He joins us each and every Thursday here on Jones and Mego with Arcan on WEEI. Just to go back to this for 1 second. So it's not the NFLPA that dropped the dime on the Patriots, or wasn't a player to the union that dropped the dime on the Patriots. They got caught red-handed by an NFL rep. My understanding is it was not necessarily, the players were cognizant of it, but as far as I can tell from, and this is not categorically the case, it was either an NFLPA rep or an NFL rep who saw it, and then there wasn't much to dispute as to what was going on. But I think as Mike Giardi reported, the players were cognizant of it. What I find interesting is, within Greg Bedard's reporting, is that on April 19th, Belichick shared the email with the strictures. It's a 4-hour window. It's not a 4-hour and 20-minute window, and you can't say that 20 minutes is optional, because if somebody comes cruising in with a coffee at 7:30 and the meeting started at 7:10, I'm sure that somebody's going to roll their eyes and say, nice of you to join us, which would drive me back crap if I was in that position. But meaning the guy who walks in, because I'm tending to be on the late side.
No, that's okay. It's understandable. That would drive me nuts, too. When it comes to the Patriots and the coaching staff, what's your understanding of how the players feel about what's going on there now with some of the new faces? I mean, specifically Bill O'Brien, Adrian Clem.
Adrian Clem has gotten rave reviews from guys like Calvin Anderson, Riley Reef. When I spoke to him, he was enthused. He mentioned Dante Scarnecchia as basically the model for how he wants to do it. I know Billy Yates, who is still the assistant. He's involved still. He was the assistant to, I guess, Patricia and Bill and whoever else was doing that job last year. So, but I think that Adrian Clem is a good ad. And this is the kind of stuff that would be borne out in these practices, what we would have seen today. Are they getting away from some of the wide zone stuff and doing more of the gap runs? Because this is when they started the wide zone stuff. As for O'Brien, all systems go from what I've heard. But again, this is something I wanted to observe today, and I think we all did in the media, and fans wanted to hear. Is Bill Belichick back with the defense, or is he still walking around behind the offense and sometimes holding the play card and holding hands and making sure things are going well? Because that's, to me, the ideal is to have Bill O'Brien run the offense and Bill Belichick back with the defense.
Tom, we have watched some of the standards with this team, at least on game day, slip in terms of penalties that they rack up, miscommunications, all these different things that we didn't used to see from Patriots teams. Does something like this indicate to you that there may still be a lack of attention to detail, at least somewhere between the coaching staff and the players that we saw last year?
Yeah, if you know the rules and you're a coach, either Bill didn't notice, which I don't think he ever didn't notice anything from 2000 to 2014 or 16. So either Bill didn't know that they were doing these 20-minute things, or he looked at it, and this is an individual who said in 2014, early 2015, during Deflategate, we don't even go near the edge of the envelope. So if he looked at it and said, yeah, I suppose we can have those 20-minute meetings, what harm could it do? And went ahead with it, I don't think that's a great decision. If he didn't know, then I'm surprised. To me, it comes back to the decisions made by the coaches. The decision made by Joe Judge. You can't do something that's outside the lines. And if you think it might be, you ask. And he did the same thing in New York, allegedly. That was part of the reason, my understanding, from what I've heard talking to folks around, is Judge was involved in some penalties with the Giants as well, not loss of OTAs, but this was not the first time he had been in a situation like this with the league.
Tommy, we heard a couple days ago about Mike Onwenu and his ankle surgery. I just wanted a little clarification because all we know is that he won't be ready for OTAs. Is that all he's going to miss? And do we have any update on what kind of surgery it was?
No, I got nothing on that. I'm sure he'll be ready for training camp, but if you're a Mike Onwenu or a Kyle Duggar, especially if you're Mike Onwenu, get the surgery done. Miss the OTAs. You're about to be, believe it or not, folks, a $10, $12, $14 million player because he is a PFF darling. Despite the fact he was a sixth-round pick, he may well be the best free agent guard to hit the market next year. And he has built so much goodwill around the league by some of the analytics that say he's such a good guard. He should be making sure that he's taking care of himself. That's an interesting subplot to this Patriots offseason. They have room next year. They have space on the roster, and they have so many pretty important players, Duggar and Onwenu at the top of the list, Josh Uche also, coming up. So that's something that bears watching too.
I'll tell you what, if he's about to make 10, 12, 14 million, then he's about to be like a Jaguar or a Jet or something like that is what he's about to be. But he is Tommy Curran, NBC Sports Boston, joined us on the Harbor One hotline. Tom, we appreciate the time. Enjoy your time off, your newfound time off here with no OTAs today. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great weekend. See you guys.